We all have that little voice in our heads, the one that narrates our thoughts, comments on our actions, and sometimes even criticizes us. This internal dialogue feels so natural that we often assume it's accurate and trustworthy. But here's a surprising truth. The voice in your head isn't always right. In fact, it can be misleading, biased, and sometimes downright harmful. Today, we'll dive into the psychology behind this internal voice, why it can trick you, and how to develop a healthier relationship with your thoughts. First, let's understand what this voice really is. Psychologists call it self-talk, the inner speech that runs continuously through your mind. This inner dialogue serves important functions. It helps you solve problems, plan your day, and reflect on your experiences. But self-talk can also be negative or distorted, especially when influenced by stress, anxiety, or low self-esteem. One key reason your internal voice can be wrong is because it's shaped by cognitive biases. These are mental shortcuts your brain takes to make sense of the world quickly, but they can lead to errors in thinking. For example, if you tend to ruminate on mistakes, your inner voice might exaggerate failures and minimize successes, a bias known as negativity bias. This can make you feel like you're not good enough, even when evidence says otherwise. Another common distortion is catastrophizing. When your inner voice jumps to the worst possible conclusion, you might hear it saying, "If I fail this task, my whole life is ruined," which is rarely true. These exaggerated thoughts trigger anxiety and can prevent you from taking healthy risks or enjoying the moment. Your self-talk is also influenced by early experiences and learned patterns. If you grew up with critical caregivers or in an environment where mistakes were punished, your inner voice might be harsh and unforgiving. This kind of internal critic can be so loud that it drowns out more balanced, compassionate perspectives. Neuroscience gives us more insight into why your internal voice can be misleading. The brain's default mode network is active when you're not focused on the outside world and often generates spontaneous thoughts and self-referential thinking. Sometimes this network spins stories that aren't based on reality but on fears, assumptions, or unresolved emotions. Because these thoughts come from inside, it's easy to mistake them for facts. So how can you tell when the voice in your head isn't serving you well? One clue is how it makes you feel. If your internal dialogue causes consistent stress, doubt, or low self-esteem, it's likely distorted. Another sign is rigidity. If your thoughts are absolute, such as "I always mess up" or "nobody likes me," they're probably inaccurate generalizations. The good news is that you can learn to challenge and change these unhelpful thoughts. The first step is awareness. Notice when your inner voice becomes negative or overly critical. Pay attention to the specific words or themes it uses. This mindfulness allows you to create distance between yourself and your thoughts, recognizing that they are mental events, not absolute truths. Next, practice cognitive restructuring, a technique used in cognitive behavioral therapy. This involves examining the evidence for and against a thought. For example, if your inner voice says, "I'm terrible at my job," ask yourself, what evidence supports this? What evidence contradicts it? This helps you develop a more balanced and realistic perspective. Another helpful tool is self-compassionate self-talk. When you catch your inner voice being harsh, consciously replace it with kinder, more supportive language. Imagine how you would speak to a close friend in the same situation. You probably wouldn't be as judgmental or cruel as your internal critic. It's also important to remember that your thoughts are not facts. They are mental events that come and go. Just because you think something doesn't mean it's true or that you have to act on it. Learning to observe your thoughts without automatically believing or reacting to them can reduce their power. Meditation and mindfulness. Practices can strengthen this skill of non-judgmental awareness. They teach you to watch your thoughts like clouds passing in the sky, present, but not permanent or defining. Over time, this reduces the grip of negative self-talk and improves emotional resilience. Sometimes, the voice in your head gets loudest during stressful or uncertain times. When you're anxious, your brain's threat detection systems amplify negative predictions, feeding the internal critic. Recognizing this pattern helps you be more patient with yourself and understand that these thoughts are part of an emotional reaction, not an objective reality. It's also worth noting that everyone experiences unhelpful self-talk to some degree. You're not alone in this struggle, and it doesn't mean something is wrong with you. The key is to develop a healthier relationship with your inner voice, one that allows space for kindness, curiosity, and balance. In summary, the voice in your head isn't always right because it's influenced by cognitive biases, early experiences, and emotional states. It often exaggerates, distorts, or catastrophizes reality, which can harm your mental health and decision-making. By increasing awareness, challenging negative thoughts, and practicing self-compassion, you can retrain your mind to listen to a more balanced and supportive internal dialogue. If this video helped you recognize the power of your inner voice and gave you tools to handle it better, please subscribe to my channel, PsycheEdge here. We explore psychology and mental wellness to help you live with more clarity and confidence. Thank you for watching. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next video.